Full disclosure, the voice you are listening to now is artificially generated, brought to you by satisphonic.com. See the link in the description for more details. What's something you know is real proven but still can't wrap your head around it? The thinness of the Earth's crust and atmosphere, that we are so relatively close to plunging into a fiery hell of molten rock or being sucked into the vacuum of space. 5 miles up, a weekend fun run, and you can't breathe. 30 miles down, a long bike ride, and you get cooked alive by the heat of the earth. Yeah, it's wild. We live in a Goldilocks zone within a Goldilocks zone, and only about 20% of that Goldilocks zone is habitable due to oceans, or ice, or desert. I've seen percentages and comparisons of oxygen, or fresh and or salt water, to the entire composition of our planet, but when you put it this way, I feel claustrophobic low. I got news for you. If I run 5 miles, I can't breathe, and it doesn't matter which direction I go. How vinyl records work. Not only do they work, but somehow someone figured out how to do it. What do you mean you pressed some squiggles into plastic, and now it makes music when you run a needle across it? Makes absolutely no sense. And they can work without electricity. You can literally hear the music coming off the needle. I own a mechanical Victrola. Just turn the crank. Yes, you can hear the unamplified music, or perfectly loud electricity. Free music. I remember in Cub Scouts, growing up, or maybe it was just a weird kid's science book that got us to try making a paper cone and taping a needle to it. We would then spin a record using a pencil and run the needle over the grooves. And you could hear the music that literally sounds like witchcraft. They used to put paper 45 amps on the back of cereal boxes. I got news for you. If I run 5 miles, I can't breathe, and it doesn't matter which direction I go. If you really want to blow your mind, hold the needle between your teeth and touch the needle to the record while it spins. You can put a thin metallic rod between your front teeth and touch anything that vibrates, preferably music, with that rod. You'll hear the music inside your brain. This effect is something else to experience for the first time. You can do what? I'm fascinated. How should I do this? Should I put on earmuffs and hold the rod onto a speaker box? Could I make a rig with a record and put a needle on the other end of the rod and play the record directly into my brain without any other devices? I'd have to solve the problem of keeping the record and the needle in the right place without moving my head, but I think I could figure out some small U-joints to make that work. Does it have to be in between your front teeth, or would anything that you can bite down on work? I think that would work. Bone conduction is a thing. I have so many things to think about to investigate this now. Beethoven was deaf and held a pencil against roof of mouth that also in contact with a piano. It let him hear the music because the vibrations carried up the pencil and he felt them a sound inside his head. Sounds weird, but known as bone conduction. I feel the same with cameras. And then I get even more amazed when I learn that they've been here since the 1800s. This was going to be mine. Corollary. Analog cable wire carries video and audio signals. On a single wire, I get blown away by speakers. They just vibrate in the right way. Just because science that we are closer to when Tyrannosaurus rex lived than he is to Stegosaurus. The concept of millions upon millions of years is just unfathomable to me. And the fact that just as there was a day millions of years ago, there will be a day millions of years from now. We could one day be fossils in the museums of species that haven't evolved or arrived yet. This is blowing my mind right now. Lol, so glad I'm not stone thinking about this. Here's a bit of an existential nightmare for you. If every human being died right now, every trace of our civilization would be wiped out by the geological forces of the Earth within 4-5 million years. So if aliens landed here in 5 million years and did a thorough survey of this planet, they wouldn't find a single trace of the human race. Edit. Since people are getting a bit uppity about it, I'm not talking about our species, I'm talking about our civilization. Yes, a few human fossils may survive. Some weird isotope spread will also be present. Nothing we have built will. There are a lot of these. On a smaller scale, Oxford University was founded before the Mayan Aztec Empire. Mammoths were still alive when the pyramids were built. There is also less time between us and Cleopatra than between Cleopatra and the pyramids. The pyramids, by human standards anyway, are seriously ancient. The vastness of space. I just don't think we humans are really capable of grasping how big it is. If you drove 55 miles per hour, it would take you something like 6,000 years to get to Pluto. That right there blew my mind. If you were traveling at the speed of light, 186,000 miles per second, it would take you 2.5 million years to travel just to the next closest galaxy. The vastness of the universe on a grand cosmic scale is measured in hundreds of millions to billions of light years. We can only see 13.7 billion light years in any given direction, yet that's just our theoretical visible edge. The universe could be much bigger. The universe could be much bigger. Brillions of light years, bigger, and we'll never know. Yes, there is millions of solar systems just in our galaxy, and there is millions of other galaxies, and some of them are way bigger, and yet we found no sign of intelligent life. Trillions of galaxies in just the tiny observable part of our universe. It blows my mind that all matter everywhere came from the Big Bang. How could all that be condensed into a single thing? What even more blows the mind is, where was that single thing situated? See, this is what makes me anxious. And the whole constantly expanding part. Space is big. You just won't believe how vastly, hugely, mind-bogglingly big it is. I mean, you may think it's a long way down the road to the chemists, but that's just peanuts to space. Mammoths were still alive when the pyramids were built. There is also less time between us and Cleopatra than between Cleopatra and the pyramids. The pyramids, by human standards anyway, are seriously ancient. For me, it's got to be time dilation caused by traveling at fractions of light speed or gravity. It's pretty wild that the light you see from the sun is around 8 minutes younger than the sun actually is. Take this a step further. Imagine other beings millions of light years away, observing the light emitted from Earth. They could be seeing a version of Earth many, many years ago that shows zero signs of life, let alone intelligent life. They take one look and think, yep, nothing there. Let's cross it off our list. Even if our planet has been discovered by other forms of intelligent life, it's almost impossible that they would know we exist without being much closer to our solar system. Gravity impacts the flow of time. Your body is made up of trillions of cells and microbes that replicate and build the construction that is you. You do not control them directly in any capacity, but they are a part of you without being you. Yet they live their own life in there, ever tirelessly building, repairing and filtering. But what is you? Are you just an interface for all these individual cells to find and input building blocks for their survival? Would we be a more accurate term for what you are? Do cells even have their own self? Or is the you a separate entity, entirely simply being in charge of a small piece of nature for the time being? If so, where does that external self originate from? Who's really in charge? Here? Here's another wrinkle to consider. Over the course of about a year, all of the atoms in your body get replaced. In other words, your physical body is made up of entirely different stuff than it used to be. Edit. It looks like 98% within a year is the actual number. Bluetooth. You're telling me we start out with rocks and shit and somehow I hear music from my phone and my headphones without them being connected? That everything we see today were all somehow made from things available on Earth during the Stone Age. Actually, I heard K-pop came from comet debris. I say this about everything. You're telling me they created gene editing tools from advanced rocks. And I can watch a video about this gene editing tools on another advanced rock. Okay. That the tides are due to the moon. What's crazy to me about the tide is that it's in a fixed spot in relation to our moon. We just spin into and out of high tide. Edit. As others have pointed out, high tide is in 2 spots, both directly facing the moon and on the opposite side as well, just to clarify. Forecasting said tides is also a bit more complex than just knowing where the moon is, though as geographic, topographic, topographic and meteorological factors are also at play. But generally speaking, the water on our planet bulges towards the moon on one, and then due to the weaker gravitational pull on the opposite side, combined with inertia, the water wants to keep going in a straight line. That causes a bulge on the opposite side as well. Edit. Also, it's all further complicated by the fact that it's doing all this while we're spinning around every 24 hours, and the moon is spinning around us every 27 days. And all while we're being dragged through space by our star that we are also spinning around, which itself is spinning around a great big black hole. Don't take life too seriously, y'all. Worth a click. Dying. I just can't wrap my head around I will be gone forever one day. The number of people in the world. You're telling me there's almost 8 billion people? And they all have their own lives, names, birthdays, friends, feelings, language, looks, inside jokes, problems, victories, challenges, etc. I have a hard time with realizing the person I see walking on the street has a life just as complex as mine, if not more so. Now times that by 8 billion. Edit. Not in like a self-centered I'm the main character way. In like a my life is so complex. How can this happen 8 billion time? Type of way. And to page my life isn't even that complex. It's just crazy to think how many people there are edit to. Apparently this is called Sonder. Thank you for telling me. It's cool to learn new things. I had this feeling yesterday in Walmart. The cashier was 6 feet tall, probably 300 pounds, had a feminine face, a masculine voice and a beard. I walked away wondering what their story is. What do they know about life that I don't? How do they see the world? Every day I see people and wish we could sit and swap stories over a coffee. Foolish fool, you are all figments of my imagination, and once I perish the dream will end for all of you too. Your existence to me ends as soon as I scroll past this comment. I'm closer to being a millionaire than Jeff Bezos. How much poop and trash is produced daily, especially on Reddit. Placebo effects working in medical cases. The vastness of space in general. Hadron Collider in general. Even more baffling for me is the nocebo effect. The deja vu feeling. I often have dreams of finding myself in scenarios that eventually happen. It's always 1 to 3 seconds at best of what I see and hear, and I usually wake up the moment I realize what happened. It doesn't have to be any significant event, could just be me standing at someone's table in a particular way and scanning their expression with no further context. Then it can take months before anything happens. Then suddenly, that memory of the dream kicks in, like a picture before your mind's eye superimposed on your POV, and I'm taken back to the exact moment where I woke up that one time. I don't think it's a mix-up in my memories, though. It's my useless superpower. If this could somehow be harnessed and exploited by people not trying to sell you something, it might just help humanity be stronger. I've wished I could somehow hypnotize myself into better habits, but it starts to sound like manifesting my reality or some nonsense. We've cloned a sheep. I barely have a solid internet connection, and yet we've cloned a sheep. Make it make sense, people. Your weak internet connection is still equally, if not more amazing, than the cloning of a sheep. So many layers of human innovation just to put you in a position to talk about this topic with an immeasurable number of people you've never even met before. It's just insane that airplanes can fly. I've been in one and everything, lots of times, but they're just so big and heavy. It should take a rocket engine or something. The speed we went from the Wright brothers flying machine to commercial airliners is what is astounding to me. From Kitty Hawk to the moon in 66 years. I'm a mechanical engineer, and I used to be a patent examiner for jet engine parts. I understand how every single mechanical part of an airplane works, and it's still amazing to me every time I fly. Agreed. I understand how they fly, but it still just doesn't make sense that something that heavy, carrying 200 people plus cargo, just stays up there. The collapse of the wave function due to observations. Observations doesn't necessarily mean something is looking at it. It means measurements. If I have a banana, for example, and I want to know how long it is, what are my options? I can take a ruler up to it and measure how long it is. I can take a picture on my phone and use a measurement app to measure how long it is, etc. Regardless, the banana is being interacted with in some form. In the ruler case, I'm directly touching the banana. In the picture case, light is directly bouncing off of the banana. When we observe any system, we have to interact with it in some way to get information, and those interactions are what collapse the wave function. Wi-Fi. It's everywhere. All of the time and data is all over the place, but things don't get jumbled up. Woof. At any given time, there are about 10 devices using Wi-Fi in my house and probably every house on the street, and it all just works. My stuff isn't accidentally appearing elsewhere, but if I want to, I can make a bunch of different devices immediately start playing the same song at the same time. Forget Wi-Fi. Let's go back in time a little more. How the hell do you shove a moving picture with sound into a wire, then transfer it to a different location and it pop out of a screen? Not as highly scientific as other answers, but the fact that pro pitchers can throw a ball 100 mph and make them drop, curve, etc. with precision. That at one time, time itself did not exist. Jellyfish. Telling me a brainless underwater glob of gelatin exists to electrocute other things. Orc sure, why not eater? I'm an idiot and said electrocute when I should have said sting, thank you. Still can't believe there are stinging globs of marine life. Dark matter and dark energy. It encompasses 95% of the universe, and we have no idea what it is. We just know it's there. The 6 moon landings and every astronaut's safe return, given the state of computers at the time. I just don't have a head for retail business. It's very counterintuitive to me. I look at a store, be it big or small, full of objects, and I can't fathom how they can possibly sell enough of them at a markup to make it a profitable venture. Modern humans have existed for at least 30,000 years. We only have records or knowledge of any kind going back around 10,000 years. 20 millennia of completely unknown human civilization, and there's virtually no trace of it. There are more trees on Earth than stars in the Milky Way. That flat earthers are 100% serious in thinking the Earth is flat. That country, like North Korea, with absolute dictatorship, can still exist in freaking 21st century.